On this episode, checking in with the Shade Room.
Being the best version of you, accountability.
What's up? Astronomy check-in. Professional advising by Via Sherelle. Drake files a lawsuit. This episode's brought to you by Vishu.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome to What You're Talking About, Willis. I'm your host, Vi. You can call me V. And welcome to Situation Saturday. Let's talk about it. First up, let's check in with the Shade Room. So, I saw a post about Nick Cannon, and what I thought was interesting was it's essentially saying, I'm pulling it up. Nick Cannon admits he needs help after being diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. And first off, want to take a minute and, send him good vibes. Send him positive thoughts, peace, love, and light. Coming forward with any kind of mental health issue is incredibly brave. It's not always easy. People really tend to keep that close to their chest. They tend to stay tight-lipped about it. It's not something that some people feel comfortable talking about. And for him to come out and openly address these issues speaks volumes on his dedication and commitment to his program, his plan, his self-healing, self-improvement. Either way, applaud him for it. It's not always easy. Some people find it easier than others. Some people are very private and they don't like to discuss those types of things. Neurodiversity and neurodivergent issues are something to be taken very seriously. And I will discuss more in the future. As most know, I was board certified as a Christian spiritual counselor in 2017. What I want to talk about is, one, admitting that there is an issue, understanding that he went to go get help, talking to somebody, understanding what the issue is the first step. In addition to that, we understand that narcissism is thrown around in our society. It is used so casually and carelessly. It is not as easy as people want to believe to be narcissistic. Being narcissistic is not synonymous with being selfish. It's not synonymous with being toxic. It's not synonymous with being a lot of things, but it can encompass those things, if that makes sense. There is a diagram that I will put up that kind of displays narcissism with respect to ASPD, which is antisocial personality disorders. And typically, what you see is that ASPD individual, which is someone who has sociopathy, psychopathy, are narcissistic. Now, the caveat to that is that you can actually be narcissistic without having those. It is not as common, but you can. And so I think that in an effort to better understand his diagnosis, I do hope he comes forward and starts talking people through. I think in an effort to better understand narcissism, to better understand ASPD, to better understand mental health, it is great to have these conversations. I am not his medical professional. I am not his doctor. So I can't ascertain whether or not he is ASPD. Would I be surprised to hear that he is? Absolutely not. Putting up a picture of his family org chart. And I've said it in other videos. I just think it's a little comical, and not in a haha kind of way, but in a very kind of way, that when I talk about him, I actually have to put up an org chart. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying it to be honest, that I feel like most, professional training understood what was going on a long time ago. Wishing you peace, love, and light. And I hope that we can continue these conversations going forward.
Next.
Best version of you, part 2. I will link part 1 in the description box. The first part of this, being the best version of you series, dealt with doing esteemable things. It helps increase esteem, self-esteem. It helps you think better of yourself, to portray and embody the version of yourself that you want to actually be in society. Part 2 is accountability. I'm doing it on accountability. I was kind of teetering on whether or not I wanted to go into neurodiversity or accountability. I'm going to start with accountability, and in part 3 we'll delve into neurodiversity. In another section of this video, we talk about Nick Cannon's admission of narcissism, and the reason, just to give a little insight as to why the neurodiversity piece will be so important, is because you have to understand how your mind works. You need to understand if you're neurotypical or neurodivergent in order to actually execute and being the best version of yourself. But today we're going to talk about accountability. In accountability, it is critical that we own our actions, not just our intention. See, a lot of people, when they do things that are esteemable or they perceive to be esteemable, sometimes we falter with execution. Sometimes our plan is solid. We know exactly what we want to do, and then we start to execute, and wow, right? We just fail. Maybe don't fail. Maybe it just doesn't come out the way you thought. Maybe somebody gets hurt. Maybe somebody is disappointed. Maybe. At this point, being the best version of yourself would require accountability. You are required to hold yourself accountable. We live in a society that loves to hold other people accountable. Well, if you wouldn't have done that, and if they didn't do this, and if that hadn't happened, but really what we need to start focusing on, ideally, would be holding ourselves accountable, understanding where you faltered. There's always fault. In every action that transpires in your life, there's something that you could have done differently, and maybe we won't call it fault. Maybe we will call it a change of path, but there's something that you could have done differently that would have completely altered the path you were on, that wouldn't have yielded the result you got. Had you done that, that is accountability, things would look differently. So in taking this and owning accountability, it is not necessarily like a shame on me, woe is me. Accountability doesn't have to be that. Accountability is actually owning the decision you made, the action you took, the choice, and understanding why it didn't work the way you thought it was going to work. So that next time you can actually use that to plan ahead so that you don't yield the same result. Being accountable will save you so much pain and suffering in the future. Understanding accountability yields better results down the line. It yields change. Why? Because if you are accountable, well, I did this and I did that, and I should have, if I would have done this instead, and if I would have ideally done that, better results in the future. In being accountable, if you can understand that ideally you would have done this way and you would have done B that way, C, D, E, F, G would have come out completely different. Now you can avoid that. The issue is that people always want to blame the outcome of A and B on everybody else. If this person would have done this differently with A, and if that person over there would have done this differently over here with B, then this would have worked exactly how I thought it would have worked. That is not accountability. That is you holding other people accountable, and you cannot control other people's actions or behavior. You have no authority over how someone else interprets, perceives, or behaves, responds, reacts to your intention and action. You have none. Accountability starts with me, with I. Okay, accountability. Cliff Notes version. Owning your actions, owning your intentions, understanding that you have no control over other people's actions, other people's interpretation of your actions or intentions, and you cannot force your will on anyone. You can ask kindly, but you cannot force your will on anyone. And when you attempt to do so, and it backfires and blows up in your face, you can't say this is your fault. I mean, you can, actually. I wouldn't recommend it. Ideally, not recommend it. Accountability is saying, okay, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Ideally, would do this instead in the future. Accountability looks very much like taking ownership of any part of a situation that you could have changed that would help change the outcome to your desired result. An example, just high level. Let's say I have a plan to do something with a friend or a person, and it slips my mind that I'm supposed to do this thing. Accountability is not blaming them because they didn't remind me that we had plans that we made 3 months ago on this date at this time. That is not being accountable. Accountability is saying, I probably should have put that in my calendar. I should have set an alarm. I should have taken some proactive steps that would have reminded me that I made these plans with this individual on this date at this time, and tried my best to be there on time. That is what accountability looks like real time. You do something with someone and things go left, Accountability is not looking at them and saying, this is your fault. If you would have just, accountability is saying like, maybe I shouldn't have done this with you in the first place. Maybe I should have just walked away when you showed up. That's real life accountability, because there's a lot of times we get involved in these situations, these relationships, these situationships, and we, at the end of it all, are like, mind blown emoji. Why did I even get involved? The reality is you can't blame the other person. You can't. Wouldn't advise it. Ideally, not advisable. Accountability looks like, in the future, I will not engage with that type of individual, organization, behavior. In the future, I understand that my instinct, my gut, whatever it was that was giving me an alert, whatever it was that I saw from the very beginning that made me think maybe this is not the type of person I want to engage with, is something I'm going to listen to. I'm going to pay a little more attention to. That doesn't mean it dictates every decision I make from here on out, but it does mean you heed with caution. It does mean you learn from the mistake and you grow, you move on. If it's an individual that you were like, something just doesn't feel right, and you chose to engage anyway, accountability says, yeah, you know what? My intuition, something didn't feel right. And now I know why, right? I absolutely understand why. In the future, if that ever happens again, not engaging. I'm absolutely not getting involved. That is accountability. I'm not over here blaming that individual because my intuition put up red flags. It's not their fault. It's mine. So, accountability. Cliff notes. Owning what you could have changed differently. That doesn't mean that everything that happened is your fault. It doesn't. It does not mean you are to blame. I got involved with this person and something didn't feel right. I got involved with this entity, this organization, and something didn't feel right. I went to this store and something didn't feel right. I did this and something didn't feel right. Or I just didn't want to. Or it didn't fit my schedule. Or everything that happens that goes wrong after that is not your fault. But owning that you kind of knew, you didn't really want to, you should have listened, your higher self, your higher power is speaking to you. Listen and be accountable. Next. What's up? It's our astronomy check-in, and let's take a look at what's going on in the sky. On the 25th of January, 2025, we have a planetary alignment. 6 planets will be visible. 2 will need assistance of binoculars or a telescope. That is Neptune and Saturn. Everyone on Earth will see the full wolf moon on the night of January 13th, 2025. The crest of the moon's full phase will come at approximately 4:27 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 13th. And there's a double whammy. As seen from around the globe, that night's full moon will lie near the bright red planet Mars. A few lucky observers in North America, West Africa, Azores, Cape Verde Island will see the moon pass in front of Mars at approximately 10 p.m. Central Standard Time on the 13th of January. If you look outside in the night, you don't see Mars. That might be because it's behind the moon. So just keep an eye out. If you do happen to catch a glimpse of Mars, look for Castor and Pollux, the twin stars of Germany. The moon, Mars, and the twin sisters will almost be in a straight line, and they'll be visible all night. This is via earthsky.org. Next. I don't know where to cite it. I was scrolling on Instagram, and if I recall the account, it was something like Black Excellence or something of the sort. I will try to cite it. I am not really sure where the original picture came from and the original caption. So let me say that. If you have seen it, if you know, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. I will be more than happy to cite it. I don't believe in stealing people's work. Angel Reese says that 2 years ago, her former agent told her she wouldn't make over $2,000 in NIL, which is name, image, and licenses deals. Now her NIL valuation is $1.8 million, highlighting her incredible rise in earning potential and personal brand success. So I wanted to take a minute to have this conversation as a professional advisor, as an agent myself for artists. I work with a publishing company that publishes art, publishes books. They publish, they do distribution, advertising, marketing. And I think that this is amazing because the wrong agent will screw you over. They will really keep you in a box. They will have you really losing. And I think that this is a great opportunity to highlight what the right agent can do for your brand, for your name, for your business, for your marketability. $1.8 million versus $2,000. $2,000. The first agent, the wrong agent, told her she wasn't going to be worth more than $2,000. The right agent got her $1.8 million in just NIL deals. This is not something that people talk about enough. Don't get screwed over. Make sure that you're with the right person, because just because somebody is a good agent doesn't mean they're going to be a good agent to you. Just because somebody is not the best agent doesn't mean that they can't work wonders with you. A lot of times it's about how they can manage you, how they can introduce your work into the market. Do they have networking credentials? Do they have resources? Do they have the capacity, the ability, the finances to push your materials, to get you those book deals, to get you the book signings, the tours, to get you in front of people, to move your work into different mediums? You know, she is doing a lot with not just Fashion Nova, but I've seen her do a lot with the WNBA and other, you know, brands. And it's because she got a good agent. They're using her face, her name, her likeness, and they are pushing it. This is something that, especially in today's day and age, where we live in a day and age where most people have some type of, either they're influencers, they're an entrepreneur, they have a side hustle outside of what they do, or they're just marketing what their day job is. And so many people have so many things going on to this day and age. So many people have so many metaphorical balls in the air, you know, whether it be, you know, a day job and a side hustle and some kids and school, etc., that it is really, really important to get the right person on your team to ensure that they can push your product, push your service, push your materials in the best way possible. And that means meeting your schedule, meeting your needs, meeting the schedule of your clients, meeting the schedule of your market, the people you're marketing to, your customer base. This is where professional advisors come into play. This is where someone who understands the market and understands pushing your product becomes lucrative. You need an agent, you need a professional advisor, you need somebody like me who can actually get your product out. I am dropping the link to my website in the description box for anybody who's interested. I do offer a complimentary consultation. Just send me an email. Next, let's talk about Aubrey, and let's check in with Aubrey Graham. So Aubrey started what was known as one of the biggest rap beefs. I use the air quotes intentionally because whatever, that we've had in a while. And while it was entertaining and quite amusing, I will say that, is this really a rap beef though? You know, Kendrick is a phenomenal lyricist, and I stand 10 toes down on that. Fight me if you want to. Drake is a phenomenal businessman, and I stand 10 toes down on that. Fight me if you want to. And what I initially heard when these lawsuits came up was that he was actually in process of renegotiating a new contract with his label, which he signed to UMG, a subsidiary of UMG Republic. And that made sense, but that's not true. He actually solidified one of the biggest record deals thus far known to man in 2021. It's a 360 deal. It's the same type of deal I have with my publisher. This encompasses everything. Everything he does has a 360 contract to it, which means recording, publishing, merchandising, you name it, they get a slice of the pie. And so why is this such a big deal? Because he signed a $400 million deal with these people, meaning he got anywhere from 360 to 400 in an advance, and he's going to continue producing. They are handling distribution. They handle a lot of things. And so when you realize that this is not a play to strike a better deal, because he already has one of the biggest deals known to man, it's up there with Lil Wayne and Cash Money It's up there with Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson. Like, he has, this deal is, mwah, it is beautiful. And to understand that now he's suing the same company because of apparently, you know, fake streams and inflation on Kendrick's Not Like Us album. This is the lawsuit happening out of New York, and this is, you know, what he is believing to be true to him, and, you know, whatever. It's a good song. We all really liked it. The video was really refreshingly beautiful, and I'm not gonna talk about that anymore. However, there are some depositions happening out of Texas, and there's supposedly another suit coming. And this suit is a defamation suit because in Not Like Us, Kendrick does use the line, and I'm air quoting it because these are verbatim, he's a certified pedophile. I'm not calling him a pedophile. I have seen, I'll put up some images of some of the women we've seen him out publicly with, and we know that there was some type of sexual interest. So to have concerns, I don't think is unmerited. So, and as a person who was assaulted, raped as a child, I don't stand for it. I think it's actually quite disgusting. And if you're insulted, then maybe you should date people your age. You know, I don't care who you date, but don't be insulted when people call you what you are perceived to be, a pedophile. I'm not saying you have to date people your age, but do they have to be 18? Absolutely. It's just weird. It's strange. Like, what does a 50-year-old have with an 18-year-old? I digress. I'm not going to say anything else about that part. If he actually ends up filing that suit, I might just disown Drake altogether. Not like it matters, because whatever. But I just feel like, Drake, please get back in the studio. Nobody has time for this. And that's all, guys. I love you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Drop into the comments, subscribe, like, share. Let me know what you think. And until next time, bye.